Into the Inklands reveals continue at a frankly astonishing speed. Again, we're not going to cover all of them, but there have been several interesting standouts in the almost 100 cards revealed in the last couple of weeks. Let's get into it. We're starting with Maui, Winged Demigod, and Captain Hook, Master Swordsman, because both of these cards are the first instances we've seen of card effects causing the loss of keywords. Of course, plenty of cards allow themselves and others to gain keywords, but loss hasn't been seen until now. Maui causes himself to lose the reckless keywords whenever a Hey quests, and Hook causes the loss of evasive on any Peter Pans in play, including your own. Moving on, we have Chernobog. We love to see some more Fantasia representation alongside the gorgeous vanilla Firebird. Chernobog is a unique card for a couple of reasons. First off, it's the only card in the game that cares about the contents of the discard pile. Sure, other cards can bring things back to hand or shuffle them back into the deck, but none of them are interested in the contents of the discard besides finding that specific character. Secondly, Chernobog is the only character that can reduce the ink that is paid in order to play himself, arguably meaning his effect is active before he hits the field. It's a fuzzy area Ravensburger are playing in there, and I'm excited to see what else comes out of it. Next up, we have Magicka Dispel, the Midas Touch. Magicka got 3 cards revealed on the main stage in the official Discord just last Friday, and it's no surprise that the Floodborn card is the most interesting. Magicka is the only card that gains lore while questing with no lore pips on her card, which she does by causing the player to gain lore equal to the cost of one of their items in play. For comparison, we have the Queen Disguised Peddler, but her effect is an activated one that requires her to be exerted. Not a huge difference right now, but an important one if Magicka gains lore pips from other sources. Another Maui then. Maui Whale can't be readied at the start of your turn, which is already totally unique outside of some Amethyst freeze abilities, but he also has the game's first example of a character having an activated ability that doesn't cause them to exert, instead having the player pay 2 ink to ready Maui. Obviously in this case, exerting as a cost wouldn't make any sense, but still, neat. Let's also chat about Maui's Fishhook here too. This item has an activated ability for exert and 2 ink that becomes free when a Maui character is in play, due to the first ability on the card. To veterans, it may be obvious that free only refers to the ink cost and not the exert cost, because being able to use this item over and over again to make all of your characters evasive and infinitely strong is, well, broken. But just in case, Rochelle from the community Discord felt it was necessary to weigh in with some information from the design team and clarify that, yes, free only ever refers to ink costs. Simba fighting Prince is a really interesting one. His triggered ability, Submit or Fight, allows the player to make a choice. You can either draw and discard 2 cards, or ping something on the board for 2 damage. If the translation is accurate, it's worth noting that you can't choose to do nothing. This is not an optional ability. We'll see if that makes it to the official English version. Pluto Determined Defender is our first Floodborn bodyguard. Nothing too thrilling there by itself, although his other ability combines very nicely with his chunky willpower. It is worth knowing now though that yes, he can shift into play exerted even if the shift target was in the ready position. We've already seen that question asked and answered in the official Discord. A couple of interesting triggered abilities up next, slightly new twists on some classics. First up, Sheriff of Nottingham Corrupt Official, our first card that triggers when your own cards are discarded rather than your opponent's. Some interesting interplay there with Steel's card filtering abilities. Second, we have Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, who draws a card whenever she quests, and she moves a damage counter whenever a card is drawn. This combination of abilities makes her the first character who can trigger one of their abilities with another one of their abilities. She's got a built-in combo. Also, watch out for Amber Amethyst players throwing her down with Rapunzel Gifted Artist on the board. Moving damage counters counts as healing, so this 2-card combo allows them to draw until their board is fully healed, or their opponent's is fully banished. Next up, we have a small bundle of cards that can all heal locations. Obviously this wouldn't have been in the game before locations themselves, so that's why this is a technically new mechanic, but worth a quick mention anyway. Repair, Quick Patch, and Wildcat's Wrench, all making it look like patching up locations is going to be a thing for Amber and Sapphire? Interesting. I think Prince John False King merits a brief mention in this video too, because although lore loss is far from a new mechanic, having it attached to an action that itself gains lore, questing, is new, and brings up some interesting questions of timing. Luckily, Steve Warner was on hand in the official Discord to clean it all up, and in order to get the conditional law loss effect of collect taxes, the opponent will have to have more law than you after you gain the 2 law from Prince John himself. Finally, I wanted to give a brief mention to a couple of cards that are stealing the crown from a couple of unique mechanics that have persisted since the first chapter. Kida, Protector of Atlantis, is another card that affects all characters, making Be Prepared no longer the only one that holds that title. Secondly, we have a card that takes Reflection's claim to be the only card that can reorder the top of the deck and blows it out of the water. The bosses on a roll can dig 5 cards deep into the deck and reorder them and gains that player a law. Reflection may have been consigned to the bulk box, but the boss certainly isn't going to be. Okay, I lied. I also want to highlight a couple more cards for selfish reasons. First of all, Scroop Backstabber, because he's the Inklands card I was lucky enough to be asked to reveal on my Twitter and Instagram. I know he's a card soldiers with extra steps, but I have high hopes for his place in the Pirate Tribal deck. And then, really finally, I just want to put Genie Itty Bitty Living Space here at the end because I adore his art by Ali Zameno. It's flawless. Anyway, that wraps up this review of the new and unique card abilities we've seen from Into the Inklands this past batch of reveals. Please consider subscribing if you want to hear more of these roundups, and follow me on Twitter or Instagram for more light-hearted googly content at Googly Glimmers. If there's any specific cards you'd like me to cover, as always, I'll be checking the comments for ideas. Until next time, may all your pulls be googly.